spoken word, some musical performances, and after the show, you guys will be led through a workshop/meditation on taking care of the self and setting boundaries. For those who don't know as well, 50% of the ticket sales will be going to Victim Services Toronto, which is an organization in the city that helps victims of abuse. If you have to leave at any point during the show, please do quietly out the door and enjoy. And if you came in late and need to buy a ticket, you can do so at the end of the show.
I thought we were meant to be. He was my Prince Charming, my destiny. I assumed he only had eyes for me. I was duped. I was always just a piece of meat. Is this really love? Can it exist with one that seldom gives you the time of day? His acts of kindness all in the name of vain. No regards for my soul. His words tarnishing my esteem. Sticks and stones and ultimate hoax. I am binded. I am constrained. These words give me pain. All I ever wanted was for him to say my name. Love is an easy claim, an easy reason to stay, as my love dismays rather than lifts me forward. But day after day, my patience is languishing. Am I forever shackled to this broken life? Was this my calling? I had dreams. I had goals. Can I do this on my own? I always enjoyed his security. This world is uncertain. catastrophic and sometimes disturbing, and his presence gave me some protection. But his presence also causes me distress, and I am simply lost. I simply am lost. I have no idea what to do. Life ripped me apart, and he just stood by the sidelines. Even during my most weak moments, he was the cause of my pain. He was the cause of my hurt. He watched as my tears hit the ground. These hardships shook my being. He was the cause. These trials and tribulations were frightening. He was the cause. And I was left to pick up the pieces on my ones. I am confused. I don't know what to do. All I ever wanted was to find my inner peace. It's time to take a chance. The time is right now, or else rest in peace to the thoughts of a life of happiness. I gotta do it. Now.
A mother goose began this tale with gander at her side, and on first sight of golden egg, the gander welled with pride. Then geese and gaggles gathered round to celebrate new birth. A little one from partnered lives increased their love's core worth. Dad lifted his unbridled joy in songs of heartfelt praise to demonstrate his pure love for the gosling they would raise. With optimistic hope, he crushed all fears that lurked and crept. Beside his goose, you should have seen the way the gander wept. At first, the situation fit them both like hand in glove, and with harmonic resonance, this amplified their love. Their gosling grew without a care, anxiety, or concern, while taught by goose and gander, for through them she'd watch and learn. A bond entwined all three as one, encompassed family ties. The truth of this reality burned deep in Gander's eyes at night when he would humbly gaze upon her as she slept. The goose was not around to see the way the gander wept. His happiness had tenure short as life sustained its march, because the sweetness of their match soon petrified like starch. Though they were meant to be a team in flight, skeins formed to wedge had made it very difficult to save their lifelong pledge. Despite the length both took to keep their gosling safe from harm, when sparks set fire to house and home, they set off 5 alarms and scorched with tragic permanence traumatic memories kept. Without his goose, you should have seen the way the gander wept. They migrate now in separate streams. Does daughter have to choose with whom she stays in rhythm while she silences her blues? The goose demands to lead the way. She sets the premier course, behaves from rash entitlement with no room for remorse, ensures that dad must take a gander from deficient rear, made plump old fears his place in Gosling's life were crystal clear. Now cursed to live with intense pain, the goose would not accept. No doubt he knew his goose was cooked the way the gander wept. Empowered or emboldened to make Gander's life a hell, the goose chose next to feed deceit and rage in parallel. She made her child a stranger to her father, took some work, required full flights of fancy, nearly drove Gosling berserk. But precious rare attention shone upon the gander's plight, struck dreadful intuition things would never be all right. A bond unwound left wounds too deep for time to intersect, showed fear his Gosling knew him not the way the gander wept. Some terrible realities this gander had to face. To fight the pattern Gosling's path required a wild goose chase. And even with best efforts, gaggles think a goose should be lead care caregiver for goslings till fledgling maturity. A mother goose began this tale with gander at her side, then pain and circumstances led to a family subdivide. A daughter's heart will not be clean when away her dad's been swept. If only the goose could truly see the way the gander wept.
I have a keen eye for disasters. A tsunami charging in toward the shore, reuniting passionately with it. A rainstorm so aggressive it doesn't fall but bangs on your door. Or demanding to be let in, an animal taking over a city, casting a shadow on the skyline. This keen eye sees disaster differently. I don't mind a tsunami because that just means the ocean wants to get close to me. I don't mind a rainstorm because maybe it needs a place to be warm. I don't mind Godzilla because wow, what a marvel. He's just looking for a home he can fit into. I don't mind your King Kong because you'll hold me high while you knock the rest of my world down. These natural disasters know how to love, but they just have a funny way of showing it. Yet, I never find myself laughing in the eye of its storm. It's more a tremble of anticipation, and maybe it's the butterflies tickling my bones instead of my stomach. No shortness of breath from taking my breath away. Your winds knocking the ones out of me, and this keen eye is growing tired. I am not a consequence of your misfortune. I will not be the punishment. The city's ruined in the wake of your hurricane, the buildings brought down in pieces at the hand of your Godzilla or your King Kong. I will not seek beauty in your damage. Mistake broken glass for glitter, or cars on fire for fireworks, or flying debris for butterflies. I'm resourceful, and I found home in your disaster many times, but I can't find it in the rubble of mine, so you don't have to drown. I've come to you as an ark, but you break me down to a plank. This keen eye for disaster have their own to clean up, and I won't be moved by the eye of your storm.
Covering from a love I can't
Okay, I would like to introduce you all to Yazmin, who will be leading the 3-year workshop in meditation. And Yazmin is a freelancer who teaches yoga in Toronto and also holds meditation on emotion regulation. So you'll be in her hands now, and just stay seated.
Hi, my name is Yazmin. I'm going to be taking us through a meditation. A couple things I want to say first. Number one, meditation is not necessarily the clearing of the mind. That's a common misconception, and that's one of the main reasons that people are so hesitant to do it. They think, I can't possibly sit still and clear my mind because I'm constantly thinking so much. So instead of taking that perspective and that approach, instead what I invite you to consider is meditation is instead becoming fully conscious of one object. So in this case, our object will be the idea of boundaries. So the second that you start to find yourself thinking, oh, I'm overthinking too much, I have to clear my mind, no. Instead, you want to become completely consumed by the idea of boundaries, the sound of my voice, and tapping into all of your other senses. The other tip that I'd like to share is that shame never works. So if you start to feel a little bit judgmental towards yourself about getting distracted or thinking about dinner or a conversation that you had previous to this, instead of using shame as a tactic to bring you back into the present moment, instead, use a word. Mine is usually darling, but you could use sweetheart or a nickname that you really like that people call you. And so when you notice that you become distracted, you would say, darling, congratulations. You just noticed that you were distracted. That's practicing mindfulness. And use that instead as your tool for coming back into the present moment instead of, oh, you screwed up. Because it's just not nearly as effective. But for most of us, that's the default, to go into that space. So just as an experiment, we'll try it. Last thing I'll say, if at any point this starts to stress you out and it's doing the exact opposite of relaxing you, meditation isn't always particularly relaxing, to be honest. It's kind of hard work. If you start to feel stressed out, you open your eyes and you ignore everything I say. Cool? Okay. Let's place both of our feet firmly on the ground. And scoot up a little bit off your chair so that there's some distance between your back. If at any point this becomes too much, you're more than welcome to lean back.
Place your palms face down against your thighs and settle your gaze somewhere low to the ground. Focus all of your attention on one thing that you see. Find a speck on the floor. Sharpen your gaze, very clear. Now start to notice the sensation of your feet within your shoes. The feeling of your feet against the floor beneath you. And now start to soften that sharp gaze of yours so that what you're looking at starts to become a little fuzzy. Starting to slow down the pace of your blinks until perhaps your eyes close. Feel the weight and the warmth of your hands against your thighs. Relax each finger, allowing each joint in your hands to soften and bend. Feel the flesh of your bum and thighs spilling against the chair. Soft, heavy. Now visualize a glowing orb of white light. Notice how it penetrates the darkness of your eyes closed, this vibrating, almost humming sound coming off of this white light. You see the white light in front of you, moving closer and closer until perhaps you can reach out and touch it. You open your mouth and swallow this white light. It starts to slide down your throat, and it settles into the center of your chest. And with this, your chest starts to lift up towards the ceiling, along with the crown of your head. There is a string attached to this white orb in the center of your heart cavity, and the highest point of your head lifting you higher and higher. Allow your lips to separate, biting surfaces of your teeth to separate, and your tongue to float heavy down away from the roof of your mouth. I encourage you to embrace all of the feelings that arise, including boredom and judgment. Whatever emotions and thoughts arise throughout our time together is a necessary part of your journey. Now, I'll ask, are you breathing? Well, of course you are, but how? In addition to how are you breathing, how are you feeling? How are you? In your own mind, ask yourself the question, how am I? And notice where in your body the answer starts to rise from. How am I? Forget about trying to understand with words. How am I? I'll ask you to repeat the next few phrases in your mind after me in order to prepare us for the next part of the visualization technique. I am safe. Within these walls, I am safe. Here, my body is my own, and I am safe. There is no danger here. I am safe. Now imagine that you're sitting